Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dell. Today I'm going to give a theological synopsis on the metaphysical fifth dimensional frequency on the planet that's basically being disguised as World War III, which is a psychological operation to enforce draconian laws through a technocracy that's engineered by fear and to keep people acclimated to a one-world totalitarian governmental system that's controlled by artificial intelligence, because the third eye for the beast is technology, by merging humans with cybernetics, which is a personification of transhumanism. Right? So with all that shit being said, when you break down the dynamics of everything that's going on the planet, World War III is actually a spiritual war with the false perception of being a physical war. I'm gonna say that again. World War III is actually a spiritual war with the false perception of being a physical war, because the foundational principles of the universe is rooted in divine retribution, meaning that what the fuck goes around comes right back around. So that can only be engineered and orchestrated by nature, not by mankind, which coincides with the cosmic celestial event that's going to take place on the planet called the Great Solar Flash, which is going to be the precursor to the Great Reset on the planet. And this is basically the symbology of a new heaven and new earth when you're talking about Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. So I got to give it to you from a biblical perspective, because the Bible is all people know nowadays. So it comes down to deep, metaphysical research, because you also got to understand many schools of thoughts in order to break down the barriers and to think outside the limitations of mankind and the construct of the European construct, right? So now I'm going to get my screen share going real quick. So when you're talking about the Great Solar Flash, right? The Great Solar Flash is basically a cosmic celestial event that's going to cause a DNA activation on the planet, because you're going from a third dimensional frequency to a fifth dimensional frequency, which coincides with the Bathari gland. Because when you break down the etymological roots of the word bara, it means a new space and time through the cuneiform language. So that new space and time is going to cause a DNA activation that's going to activate the Akashic records all throughout your biological structure, all throughout your anatomy, right? So during this cosmic event, that's when the sun is basically at solar maximum, because we're entering now the last solar cycle, because that means that the lunar frequency on the planet has basically been depleted, because that lunar frequency is what controls the electrical grid nodes on the planet in the firmament that keeps us acclimated to a vetted simulation of reality, which is the matrix, right? So when this celestial event happens and you have these colossal coronal mass ejections that's going to be projected to the planet, that's when they're going to say, oh, Russia bombed somebody, or Ukraine bombed somebody, or the United States bombed somebody, when that's not really what happened. Now, the solar transmission from the cosmos and from the sun is what's going to cause all types of calamities on the planet. So I need you to also understand that this Great Solar Flash is also a DNA activation, because the DNA in your biological structure is an electromagnetic generator and a light code transducer by transmuting the light code messages from the mRNA to the DNA. So it's acting as an amplifier and a converter by activating the light codes. So it's basically going to transmute the carbonated body into a crystallized being, to where it's going to activate the 144,000 crystals in your brain called the magnetites and the dendrites, right? So it shows you a great awakening, fifth dimensional ascension map right here. So a lot of people thought the world was going to end in 2012, but like I said, you live in a Luciferian system, so everything's inverted. 2012 was actually 2021. So that's how they hide the truth, by inverting information. So so during this time from 2018 to 2020, this was the cosmic event as you going into the coming out of the Aquarian age, going into the Aquarian age, I mean. So now you at the purification period of 2023, 2024, where you're going to have some form of extraction that's going to take place in our atmosphere, and that's basically going to be activated by Nibiru, which is coming from the 19th galaxy on planet Risk, which is what we call the mothership, or the Anunnaki, right? So now when you read this passage right here, it says our civilization will witness global ET contact during this time. So that's basically telling you right there that coincides with the hieroglyphics the Sumerians, who were talking about the Anunnaki as well. I'm gonna show you a picture. And you're talking about the Anunnaki in the crossing planet, right? So when you're talking about the crossing planet, this is what they're talking about that right here. It's basically also the symbology of the equinox. You got the solar cycle, lunar cycle, solar cycle. So like I said, everything is written as a systematic prophecy. Everything is already based on the energetic blueprint of the universe, right? Because everything is already scripted and written. So, you know, these prophetic events that's going to take place on the planet, you cannot reverse engineer none of this shit because it's already pre-encoded in the universe. It's already pre-encoded all throughout your biological structure, right? So this is also the symbology of the black sun. So now you're talking about the origins and the inception of the cross. So you're talking about the crossing planet, and you also talking about the X gene that's going to be activated once the sun reaches solar maximum. That's why they call it the X, planet X or whatever, because when you understand the inception of the first people on the planet, then you also know that the woman was here before man, and the woman is what represents the X gene, which is also coincides with the story of Henrietta Lacks, right? Henrietta Lacks, she had when she died, they extracted her stem cells out of her cervix because she had immortalized cell lines, meaning that she was able to regenerate herself, and that could only be activated by the carbonated structure and the neuromelanin all throughout your biological structure, right? So like I said, it is also going to cause an activation to the Akashic records, which is the neuron synapses that gives power to the neurotransmitters in the brain, to where you can remember all your heightened senses, whereas telepathy, psychometry, clairvoyance, and things of that nature. So when you're looking at the Anunnaki right here, like I said, it's not cryptozoology, you know what I'm saying? This is not folklore tales and none of that stuff. All this stuff is pre-encoded in stone. It's written in the holy tablets. It's written in the emerald tablets. All this stuff is going to take place. Now, you can also get the truth out of the, you know, these from dogmatic monotheistic belief systems, but you have to know enough to pull the truth out those books, right? So now when I was talking about DNA activation, right? When I'm talking about DNA activation, we like I said, you're going to transmute the carbonated body to a crystallized being, to where the X gene is going to be activated. So you will basically be a humanoid superhero, so to say. So that's where they get this from, because a lot of those superhero stories is basically talking about the biological structure of the so-called Black people. So I'm going to show you a picture of this man named Simon Toko. If we come on. All right, now I need y'all to understand something. This man, he was killed multiple times and he came back to life, right? Because like I said, when the DNA and the ethers and the biological structure is activated, it causes you to regenerate because you have immortalized cell lines, because you are basically the personification of the carbonated energy in the extraction of the solar transmission that's activating your biological structure. So now it says that Simon Toko unleashed his army. The event was witnessed by thousands of people on January 4th, 1959. On that day, the cherubim and seraphim appeared and stood against the Belgian colonial army. Now, the cherubim and seraphim, they are basically talking about the Yahwehans, the agreeables and the disagreeables. So for all the Hebrew Israelites out there, they're not talking about Yahweh is not a Christ figure. You are basically talking about the Elohim, who are the Anunnaki. And these galactic gods came down from the atmosphere and defeated the Belgian army. And a lot of people seen this in Africa in the Congo. And also, I want to let you hear this passage by David Wilcock. He was basically, I already did like a presentation on this thing that I'm talking about, this about Simon Toko, but I need y'all to listen to this right here from David Wilcock.
Chris in Long Island, New York. Well, welcome to say hi to David Wilcock. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Dave. How you guys doing?
Doing good, Chris.
Well, I have a question for David in terms of reading his new book, Defense Mysteries, which I'm very enjoying very much.
Thanks.
And one of the chapters was Nikola Tesla with Pete Peterson and Nikola Tesla Black Ops.
Yep.
There's one of them is about Black Jesus, where there's a sudden being appearing in Africa.
Yep.
And I just want to know if you know any more information you would share with us, because I thought that was very captivating to me. And I just wanted more information on it.
Yeah, the Black
Thank you,
Jesus
Chris.
story. The Black Jesus story was probably one of the most shocking things I ever heard. It came from my insider Jacob, I call him that in the book, who actually was working for the Rothschilds and still does, and also is a whistleblower who doesn't really do what they want, but continues to work for them because he feels like there's some very serious extraterrestrial threats to Earth, and that what they're doing is very necessary to protect us. So the story goes that in the 1960s, there was a black man in Africa who came in with abilities complementary to those of Jesus. And he was performing miracles. He was starting to get people to listen to what he had to say. And the cabal tried to kill him, and they could shoot him in the head and his skull would just regenerate and the flesh would grow back, and he was fine. And so the crazy story that I heard, which and remember, I was told at the time that if I disclosed this, that I would be killed, and I ended up putting it in the book anyway. The story was that this guy, they finally said, okay, we're going to bring you to the United Nations and share your message with the world. Let's get you on this flight. They bring him on this flight, and instead of bringing him to the United Nations, they shot him repeatedly, and then actually had some kind of meat grinder device, and basically like a bandsaw, I guess, and sawed up his body into a whole bunch of pieces, put him in these very like radioactive shielded containers, and then had all these fighter jets dock with the plane and fly his body parts to all corners of the world, where then these containers turned them into ash. And they thought that maybe this would defeat him, like that his body somehow, the tissue was necessary. So if they destroyed all the tissue in all these places across the world, maybe they could defeat him. Well, he then regenerated in their offices and was fully fine, fully intact. But the sad part is that he said, you guys so badly do not want me to be here that I am not going to be able to do any more. You're going to get what you want, but bear in mind that in the future, many others like me will be coming, and when they do, you will not be able to stop us.
Now, I need you to think about what he said. He said, many like me will come in the future and you won't be able to stop us. So he is basically talking about there's going to be a DNA activation of the chosen ones. So those who got that psychotronic, microscopic cryogenic nanotechnology all throughout your biological structure from those pharmaceutical industries, you are not going to be able to reap the benefits of spiritual atonement. You're not going to be able to reap the benefits of those metaphysical abilities because you've been compromised by westernized medicine, right? To where it keeps you acclimated to their matrix system, to where your soul and spirit can be extracted and being reincarnated and propagate and projected back on this planet, right? So this is, this is a real thing, So it comes down to one of those things, man. You have to use supreme discernment. You have to use many different schools of thoughts to, get to the inception of the truth. So now we're going to be going to, let's see. Yeah, now we're going to be talking about how, like I said, those who worship westernized concepts, those who worship Western technology, right? Those who will basically be eliminated during the Great Solar Flash for 1,000 years. right? And you're also going to have the chosen ones, just like Dr. York said. You're going to be groomed for 1,000 years. Once you're groomed for 1,000 years, you're going to come back to this planet to reverse the polarities of the desolation that was engineered on the planet by the Luciferian system, who was the beast, right? So like I said, man, all this basically coincides with who you are genetically, because the carbonated body is the highest form of technology on the planet. That's period, because they use and extract the melanocytes out your body, and they use it for technological purposes, and then turn around and enslave your ass with it. You see what I'm saying? So it's also to the point, man, if you don't know who you are, you don't have a sense of self-identity, you cannot decipher who the enemy is, because this is why we in the state that we in right now. You know what I'm saying? So now we're going to go to, yeah. This also coincides with, like I said, just like Prophet Noble Jew Ali said, he said, don't throw away your Bibles, because in these last days, you're going to have to condemn the European with it. So now when you're talking about the borders of the Soviet Union, the socialist republics, they're talking about in the book of Ezekiel, you're talking about Gog and Magog. Magog is basically Russia. So Russia and Rosh is basically the same thing. They say that in the book of Ezekiel in the Bible. But like I said, it comes down to deep research, and it comes down to decoding all forms of theology in order to get a supreme understanding of what's going on the planet. So it tells you right here, this is all prophesied. So this is basically an emulation of the 1922 map, but it's in alignment to the 1874 map, right? So all those geographical land masses that you see in Gomer and Magog and Tubal, all these is basically in alignment to the same map that was propagated on 1922, right? So like I said, this is a spiritual war that's taking place with the false perception of being a physical war. There is no war that's actually happening on the planet. I mean, the perception of it, there's a war that's going on, but like I said, they are trying to hide the fact that the planet is going through a metamorphosis, and basically to keep you outside of your spiritual capacity, because once you receive that supreme activation, you know what I'm saying, you can reverse the polarities of everything that they trying to propagate on the planet. They will lose their control. They will lose their infrastructure if everybody if everybody was acclimated to that information. So I just, wanted to do a supreme demonstration on this information that's basically, going on right now, because a lot of people don't have an intuitive perspective about what's going on the planet from a governmental standpoint. So share this video, get this video out there, like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.